Hello and welcome to the Bikes or Death podcast. My name is Patrick and I'm your host. And I'd like to start off by thanking this week's newest patrons. We got Eric W. and Brad D. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for supporting the show. And if you'd like to support the show, you can head over to bikesfordeath.com and check it out. There's lots of ways, whether you sign up as a Patreon, you give a one-time donation through PayPal, you could order some merch, some cool shirts or something. And honestly, one of the easiest things you can do to support the show is just leave a 5-star review on iTunes. That's one of the best ways that you can support the show. It helps other people find out about it and gets them addicted to this beautiful, beautiful thing we love to do called exploring the world on a bicycle. And I would like to give a special shout out to Bo Kruger. I recently found out that she may be the youngest listener and fan of the show when her dad sent me a picture of her wearing one of my Bikes for Death shirts. So, Bo, I wanted to thank you for being a fan of the show. I hear you are tearing up some single track on your bike with your dad, and that is so very rad. So keep it up, and don't forget to thank your dad for being an awesome dad and taking you out there and riding bikes. There's a lot of dads that don't do that, and you're pretty lucky to have a dad that wants to go out there and have fun and ride bikes with you. And Bo, I hope you will be specifically inspired by today's guest, who is Andrew and Katie Strempke. They were the first people to ever complete a yo-yo on the Colorado Trail race. Now, a yo-yo means that they rode the entire length of the Colorado Trail and then turned around and rode it back where they came. They were the first people to do that, and they did it on Singlespeed. It's truly an incredible story. They didn't even intend to do a yo-yo. They were just going to go ride it. And then they decided a week before to yo-yo it. Why not? Why not just knock out the whole thing in one go? I guess it makes it easier for getting back to your car, right? Maybe it's just a logistical thing. All right, everybody. Thank you all for being here so much. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I'm here. And that's all I got. So let's get on with the show.
You load up your bike, you ride away from home. You could be with your friends or you could be alone. You ride for a day or maybe more. You just love being in the great outdoors. Everything you need is strapped to your bars, including that new pillow you got from Santa Claus. And then you think, oh shit, to yourself. You left that super lightweight tent on the living room shelf. Bikes or death. Bikes or death. Podcast.
All right, everyone. Today I have joining me on the interwebs my semi-friends. I can almost call you friends. We met once at a wedding. We got Katie and Andrew Strempke, who are the new, what are y'all, like the power couple of bike packing now?
I don't know about that.
Well, just to get this out there real quick, y'all are fresh off of a yo-yo on the Colorado Trail, and you were both on single speeds. So if that doesn't give you the title of bike packing power couple, I don't know what does. It's pretty sweet. How are y'all feeling right now? Are y'all like stoked and shocked? How are the bodies feeling?
Feeling pretty good. Body's not too bad, like some tingly hands and sore ankles. But aside from that, we're recovering pretty well.
Are y'all like on a super high from finishing it? And I mean, it's like a weird thing to be a yo-yo finisher on the Colorado Trail, right? Like there's no big fanfare when you get done. There's not a big party. There's no one to hand you a check or anything like that. But are y'all like pretty stoked?
Kind of coming down from that, I feel like.
Yeah, I finished about a week ago. First few days, it was like partially being super lazy and laying on the couch, but also like, whoa, this happened, and interacting with people and trying to process it all. Katie wrote up a blog post that was really good, and that kind of helped, put things down on paper that were floating around in our heads.
Bikepacking.com just put your story out there like yesterday, I think, or the day before. And I saw on Instagram that Neil Belchenko got y'all on a video chat, I believe. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other interviews or anything lined up?
No, this is it.
Okay. We'll put the Triple Crown of Media. Well, before we get like too far into the weeds, help me remember. So we met at Gabby and Thomas's wedding in Oklahoma last year, and I got lucky enough to just happen to sit down next to y'all, I think. And Katie was telling me about, were you telling me that he just finished the CT on a single speed?
Yeah, last year, Andrew finished the Colorado Trail in like 5 days, 22 hours.
I remember being blown away. And if I remember correctly, wasn't I talking about trying to get you on the podcast and you were like, nah, not interested? I don't remember exactly, but I was going to have you help me remember if we talked about that or not.
I don't know. We still don't really feel cool enough to be on a podcast.
Yeah, this first podcast.
I don't feel cool enough to have a podcast. I mean, I've never freaking ridden the Colorado Trail or yo-yoed it, and I barely ride single speed. So like, who am I qualified to be talking about anything?
You got the microphones.
Yeah, I got the microphones. Well, anyway, thank y'all for coming on. It's kind of cool. I know that I just remember like Katie, I felt like, and I have a bad memory, so maybe I misremember this totally, but I felt like Katie was just like really stoked on Andrew. I don't think I realized that you were also kind of a badass as well. I just remember that you were really kind of highlighting Andrew's accomplishments.
Yeah, Andrew's a fast dude. Yeah, and the Colorado Trail last year, like I tried it and I didn't finish. So I wasn't like super excited about it. A little bitter.
Yeah, you weren't patting yourself on the back. Well, you said in that article that you wrote that, I'm going to paraphrase, but basically I don't quit things.
Yeah.
So that really stuck in your craw, as they say here in Texas.
Yeah.
So a little bit about y'all. I'm always curious about what people do for a living and be able to do this. So can you talk just a little bit about maybe what y'all do for a living and where you live and how you're able to go and do, 16 days on the Colorado Trail?
We recently both quit our jobs and are traveling in our van right now. So we're located in Kansas City. I was working as an occupational therapist for a school district.
Yeah, I was a mechanical engineer at Garmin. So working on cycling hardware, which was really cool, but we were ready to be in the mountains. And so that meant different jobs. So in the process of figuring out where we want to be in the mountains, this wasn't the plan from the start, but kind of morphed into the plan of let's live in the van for a year or so and travel and find the next home base. So Colorado Trail was kind of the first stop. We knew we wanted to go back and do Colorado Trail again, and Colorado is basically, not too far from Kansas City. So we spent some time in the mountains, and then we were going to tour the Colorado Trail together.
So when did y'all quit your jobs and move into your van?
Beginning of July, like a month ago. We closed on our house, drove to Colorado like that day, and spent it was close to 3 weeks, and then started the yo-yo. We've lived in a van for as long as we've done a yo-yo. So we're total rookies, Still figuring stuff out.
Well, fuck, that's so exciting, man. I mean, y'all are living the dream. Quit your jobs, just living in the van, riding your bikes. What's the plan? I'm super curious. I mean, that's like the coolest thing ever, right?
Had some money saved up to take a year off, travel pretty cheap in the van, just finding national forest to stay in when we can, and stoked to be in the mountains.
So is the plan to get back to a job eventually, or y'all retired forever?
Yeah, fortunately, work will come probably within a year or so. It'll be ready to get some income again. But
I wonder if y'all can produce some content and stuff from your van. Y'all should do like a YouTube channel or something. That's what all the cool kids are doing.
We've started working on editing some video footage from CT, and it'll be a long road to have that be an income source. I'm pretty green at that as well, just stumbling through all these clips and trying to edit things.
Video editing is a pain in the butt.
Yeah, it takes some skill, and there's definitely an art form that does not come naturally to me. So that's definitely more work than it appears to be, I think, the YouTube channel thing. But
I agree. And that's why I don't do video podcasts. I used to do video production in another company that I had, and it's so much work. You spend a month or something on a 10 or 15 minute video, and you're just like, wow, that was a lot of work. So I feel you. Maybe you could start a podcast. Ooh, that would be good. Inside the life of the power couple.
I don't know. Yeah,
all right.
Podcasts intimidate me.
Dude, they intimidated the shit out of me whenever I first got started. I didn't expect anyone to listen For real, like I just thought I was going to start like an obscure bikepacking podcast and like no one would, know about it or really listen. There would be like a few nerds that would follow along, but turns out there's a lot of us out there.
Turns out there's a lot of bikepacking nerds out there.
Oh, yeah. And there's a whole world too. I think I was just thinking like in terms of Texas, but there's people that, doing this all over the world that are wanting to hear stories like y'all's. So I'll stop talking about me. I mean, I got to admit, like, I'm super jealous. That's really awesome. How is it? I mean, okay, you've only been doing it 30 days, but are y'all liking it?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it's a dream.
Van life's legit.
And just like not having a plan and being super flexible. Like we weren't even planning on doing a yo-yo until like a week before we left. We were just planning on touring it one way. The opportunity came up and we were like, well, we got nothing else on the schedule, so we might as well saddle up and try it.
That's so cool. It's really cool that y'all are a couple and are on a similar level. I mean, both riding Singlespeeds, doing the same kind of thing, both want to quit your jobs. I mean, that's pretty awesome to have that much commonality. How long have y'all been together? I'm curious.
We've been together for 10 years. We met in high school. Yeah, we've been really lucky that we've like changed in the same ways over the years.
We did not ride bikes when we met. That was something we found together and have grown as cyclists together, I guess.
Did y'all do other kind of sports or anything? Or what was your introduction into bikepacking? Who saw it first and all that?
When we started riding bikes, my dad kind of introduced us into that. He's been riding bikes for a long time. So when we like had an interest in that, he really helped support us getting started and everything.
So we, as rookie cyclists, had some friends that were talking about going coast to coast on road bikes. It was like, oh, that's a thing you can do? Oh, yeah, we should try that. And just like knew nothing and went on, crazyguyinabike.org or whatever that like 90s touring website is, and just read forums and ended up with, I had a Bob trailer, Katie had a rack and panniers, and took way too much stuff and made it, went coast to coast. Blows my mind. Like driving on some of those roads now, and I'm just like, I would never ride on that. But you're on the route and it's like, oh, this is the bike route across the country. This is safe. And I don't know, people do it. And I know a bunch of people that are rookie cyclists that have done coast to coast trips. And it's like, I think that's kind of what it takes, is somebody that you can't know too much. Otherwise you won't do it,
Yeah. Yeah. I won't ever do it. I know too much to have any interest in it. Now doing what y'all did, a little bit more interesting.
So yeah, we got done with that cross country tour and saw like Ride the Divide. And we're just like, oh, there's this whole other world of gravel and this off-road touring, and like that looks so cool. It took us 6 years between that cross-country trip and until 2018, and then we toured the Divide route together, and that was like amazing. Yeah, changed us.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's also cool about Ride the Divide. I don't know if y'all saw, they just had the 10-year anniversary. It was like an online event, and they had me host the question and answer thing. I mean, it's just a huge honor because, like y'all, that's how I found out about bikepacking, Like, I watched that film so many times.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you want to come interview me? Or all of us, everybody? I'm like, yeah, that would be great. I'll do that. So anyway, that was a really neat opportunity. So I wanted to ask, how does the Colorado Trail compare to the Tour Divide in terms of difficulty?
Oh, man, so much harder. Totally different. Like, it's not the same everything at all.
Yeah. The Divide route is mostly washboarded gravel roads, but I mean, you can do it on a gravel bike, right? It can be more comfortable on a mountain bike, but the Colorado Trail is like full on technical mountain biking. And then you've got some gravel detours around wilderness areas. So you've got some easy miles, but a lot of it is real mountain biking.
Yeah, full on. When did Singlespeed come into y'all's lives? Did y'all Singlespeed the Tour Divide, or when? I want to get a reference point to that.
So we didn't do actual Tour Divide. We were just touring the Great Divide route because we were sharing gear and riding together. And we did that with gears. I've been riding Singlespeed on gravel for 5 years, I guess. And that's just been my go-to with gravel racing. Is it suited my riding style. And I don't know, I like it.
So what about you, Katie? When did you decide to hop on the Singlespeed train?
Yeah, kind of like after that, the Divide, I was kind of looking for something different to do and just trained on the Singlespeed during the winter. I felt like it made me a stronger rider. And when I started riding Singlespeed like all the time, my quads like grew by like 30%, So yeah, in 2018, I haven't always raced single speed, but training on single speed since then.
Yeah. I always felt like, well, not always. I recently, within the past like year and a half, got my first single speed bike. Actually, it was after I met y'all. So it was like within the last year or whatever. I got my first single speed. And that really made sense as like a training tool, especially in Texas where there aren't mountains that I can go climb. Like you just put you got one gear and you got to stand up and pedal, and it makes a lot of sense that you would use that as training and then go to a geared bike for a race, like, wow, look at all this. I got options. It makes you such a better rider too. I know I've heard other single speeders say that, but when you get one and you actually have to learn how to be more efficient and use everything to your advantage, you don't have a get out of jail free card. You really have to learn how to ride your bike and get better. So yeah, I get it now. I think I get it now.
Yeah.
At first I just thought y'all were crazy. Not y'all, but just like single speeding in general. I'm like, hey, don't y'all know that there's gears?
Yeah, I can talk to someone all day about why they should go single speed instead of geared. Especially when you get to long distance stuff. There's a lot to like. I think efficiency, low maintenance, weight, and then you potentially have the harder work. You're mashing up hills and stuff. But on the Colorado Trail, a lot of stuff's so steep that you're walking. I mean, you'd be walking on a geared bike anyway. Mm-hmm. So you maybe get off and walk a little bit earlier, but it's kind of a forced recovery thing where, okay, I'm having to walk this hill, so I'm moving my body differently, or I'm on this flat or downhill stretch and I'm spun out, so I guess I just sit here and coast. And so it kind of keeps you in check, where if you had a bunch of gears, you can be hammering the whole time. You have your butt in the saddle the whole time. That can be game over for a week if you're overusing some of those muscles or you get saddle sores or whatever. So single speed's not all gnashing, and there's some smarts to it, I think.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And I've heard that articulated twice. The first time was Bailey Newbury, who finished, you probably know, single speed Tour Divide, second place 2018. So he was just on the podcast a few episodes ago. And of course, we're talking about the single speed aspect of it and how he was able to almost win. I mean, at some point he had passed Louis Sador. Yeah, I just interviewed Louis. God, brain fart. Yeah, so he came in second place to Louis Sador and had passed him at one point, and really was in a position to potentially win Tour Divide on a single speed. But he said it the same way you did, was that you're going to be walking a lot anyway, forces you to have recovery and gives your body different positions to be in. And whenever he broke it down and the way you did, I'm like, okay, well, that actually kind of makes sense. I still don't know if I want to try it yet. I got my toe dipped in. I might get my feet in next,
Single speed on the Divide is gnarly, and I want to try it. Single speed on the Colorado Trail, I think it makes a lot of sense, relative to something like the Divide, just because there's so much hiking and there's so much gnarly trail that you're dragging your bike through. You don't have to worry about a derailleur, and I can go on and on.
It makes a lot of sense because I've never done the Colorado Trail, but it's 540 miles, I think, and 70,000 feet of elevation gain. So, I mean, it's a lot of up and down. There's going to be a lot of hike-a-bikes and tech descents that you might want to walk anyway. And I was curious about his comments on the Tour Divide because being mostly gravel roads and a little bit more wide open, but he's committed, and he's a monster. He said that he thinks that the overall record could be beat on a single speed. He's pretty confident.
Yeah, Bailey's an animal.
He is an animal, a good animal.
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
One more question about y'all. Do y'all recreate well together? You're obviously doing it a lot. Now you're living in a van. Do y'all recreate well together? Specifically bike pack, these hard endurance events. I mean, because it's stressful, you're tired, you're emotional.
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of riding together. Most of our racing is individual, and so CT started out that way, or this CT Yo-Yo did, and last year the CT we were individual. When we're not racing, usually riding together. We're pretty similar pace, so that works out.
No fighting too much?
No, we're both pretty non-confrontational, so it works out.
Because of what you're doing is so physically hard, mentally exhausting and all that, it puts you on the edge. And I've been on plenty of bikepacking trips with partners, and I know that sometimes it can be good and sometimes it can be bad. And I don't know if there's like a formula. I think you just have to like get in that situation and kind of find out how you recreate together and how you handle those tough times, both personally and then, how you react to each other.
I think we've had a lot of experience riding together and touring together. And we did that cross-country tour. It was 44 days. We were both 19.
Yeah.
I can't pick out a instance where we were fighting. And so we've had a lot of long rides, tours, whatever, to kind of learn how each other functions. Like, okay, don't take this the wrong way, but you need a snack. I think kind of learning how we work.
Yeah. And you don't have to like ride side by side the whole time. If one of you is feeling better than the other, like I'll see you at the top.
I think that's smart. And that's what I've done a lot as well. It's just, we both have the route. We know where we're going. Bikepacking, I think a lot of bikepackers are kind of more quiet and are good with being alone and riding solo and all that kind of stuff, or else you wouldn't be doing it. So that's good advice. You don't always have to ride together, especially if someone's grumpy or whatever. But I also like what you said. Really being able to like be there for each other and be like, hey, you need a snack. And then not a rude thing, but just like, you're going to feel better.
We usually hit, our highs and lows at different times. So somebody's in a low spot and you can be like, hey, look at where we are. Like, this is such a cool place. It's a beautiful day. Everything's good. What's wrong? Because you should be stoked right now. So then it's like, oh yeah, okay, let's stop. I'm going to eat. Everything's good. Most of the time, that's the solution. We're big eaters, just like constant stream of snacks. That's how we keep going.
What do y'all like to eat on bikepacking trips? Not on a race. Let's say like you're going on a bike tour. What do you like to eat? For snacks.
Snacks.
Anything. Like, I don't care. We're just hungry.
Yeah, whatever sounds good.
Yeah, it takes a variety, right? A pretty big range of sweet, salty, real food, pastries.
Oh, I love payday.
And Fritos and...
I'm big on like blueberry muffins. Those are rocket fuel for me. So if I have a morning that starts out with a blueberry muffin, it's going to be a good day.
Yeah, nice. What you said about having options is smart. And that's whenever I pack, it's just like, I like a lot of variety because you never know what you're going to be feeling like. And you have different, moods that you get in. And so, yeah, that's smart. Lots of variety.
Yeah.
Tortillas are super easy to pack, and cheese or peanut butter. You feel like you're getting some real food if you like stop and make yourself a tortilla with something in it. Oh,
heck yeah. Tortilla and peanut butter, man. That's my rocket fuel. Or payday. That's another good one. Anything with peanut butter in it or peanut nuts. I love nuts.
Yeah.
Let's get into some Colorado trail racing talk. 2019, was that both of your first attempts at the Colorado trail race? And were you both single speed, or what were you doing that year?
I was single speed and Katie was geared. And it was our first time on the whole trail. We'd done a quick 2 or 3 day thing on like segments 1 through 5, which the first few segments from Denver are very tame compared to what's to come. So we did a 3 day thing where we were ride the first few segments and we were like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great. Get this single track, and we'd heard that it was gnarly, but I think we got a little bit of a false sense of confidence from that. It's definitely valuable. Like, we got to test our setups. We did it a few weeks before we started the race, but yeah, it definitely gets more gnarly as you go west. So
pro tip.
When we started in Durango, the race started in Durango last year. That on odd years they go Durango, Denver. And you start out right away, like this huge hike a bike up Kennebec Pass. Yeah, it was eye-opening. It was like, oh man, I'm going to hike for hours and I'm getting passed by people and I'm hiking super slow. And so yeah, it was an eye-opening experience first time on the trail for sure.
For you, is it type 2 fun?
There's a little bit of both for sure. Like, the hiking can be really tough, but you have to learn to enjoy it, right? Because you do it for so long. But then like you get to the top, and there's like this perfect ribbon of single track through a meadow, and you forget all of the, hard work that you just did, and it just feels amazing, And
then you might go just have this like perfect 30-minute descent through the mountains, and it's like this remote area that you can only get to if you hike there, right? Okay, this is super fun.
That's beautiful. You almost made me cry. I mean, just picturing the grueling long, hike a bike to the top. As y'all were talking, I was thinking about Katie's growth over comfort.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so true on so many levels. But I was thinking of that analogy of pushing or climb, getting to the top of the mountain and then having the most glorious descent. And yeah, it just wipes everything out. And you realize the value of all that hard work. And
Yeah.
like you said, there's only one way to get here. I guess you can ride your bike or walk, but who wants to walk? You don't have to.
Yeah. On the Colorado Trail, you quickly learn that walking is the way you get through parts of the trail, right? You can't expect to go ride the whole thing and every time you get off your bike, I thought I was going to ride this. No, you're just like, okay, this is a section I walk, because you walk for a lot. I've heard people estimate, 100 miles out of the 500 is walking. I mean, it's somewhere in that ballpark, 80, I don't know, but you're going to spend a good, a third or half of your time on your feet.
Did y'all know that going into 2019, or is this what you learned from 2019?
We had read that and I knew it in my head, but you don't know what that feels like until you get out there and you're like, okay, this is what walking for hours feels like, pushing my bike, Yeah, you can know it in your head without really understanding what that feels like to your body.
And we're training for that in Kansas City. So
right.
We've got endless 100-foot hills, but seeking stuff out that's 200 feet or more is you really got to look for it. So you can't train for the hiking, 12,000 feet where you're just a slow walking pace has got you heart rate up.
Well, that's the same problem I have in Texas. The nearest mountain range is 9 hours away,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm at sea level. What's the elevation in Kansas City? It can't be very high.
1,000 maybe.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's terrible training ground for the Colorado Trail, I would think.
Yeah.
How did 2019 go for each of y'all? Whoever wants to go first.
I can go first.
You did it in under 6 days. How did it go, and what did you learn from it that you took with you into 2020?
Yeah, so race started in Durango, had this big long hike a bike at the beginning, and I knew from the first morning I was hiking and people were passing me. All these people that at the bottom there'd been some rideable sections, and so I was probably riding too hard, but riding with people. And then as soon as we started the real climb, people were passing me left and right. And so that second day, I was just like, man, okay, I'm hiking way too slow and I need to figure this out, because I was just still wrapping my head around okay, now I'm going to walk for a long time and just accept that and going. So I started to figure that out, and I started to, that second day, ran into Alexandra Houchin. And so we started leapfrogging, and she hikes so fast, unbelievable. She would hike away from me. And so I just started to try and keep up with Alex. And it was just a game. She was trying to drop me and I was trying to learn how to hike.
And just so everybody else, just in case you don't know Alexandra, she was on a Singlespeed as well.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So just for anyone who didn't know that. Yeah.
Yep. So we're, similar pace, same gearing, pretty evenly matched aside from the hiking. And so I had to learn that real quick.
Did you pick up any tips from her, watching her hike away from you?
I don't know if she was ready to give me tips at that point. I think she was trying to lose me. So.
Oh, no, not give you tips, but I just from watching her.
Oh, from watching.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have my boots. I totally forgot my boots and my flat pedals. So I understood, what her strategy was there. I was like, okay, this makes a lot of sense now. We're totally hiking. She's hiking in these boots and I'm in a cross-country carbon sole race shoes, and so I just tore them up. They survived, but they were trash afterwards.
How about your feet? How'd they survive?
My feet were okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think the shoes kind of disintegrated around them, and so I didn't have rub points because the shoes just, fell apart.
Took everything.
Yeah, so my feet were fine, and I had really good weather. I put my rain pants on once last year, so I had really good weather. No issues with wet socks and stuff like that that'll get you. So, but yeah, I ended up leapfrogging with Alexandra most of the way, which was really fun, and some other racers, and then made a big push at the very end to get in under 6 days. I didn't realize how long it was going to take. I was like, okay, I got 100 and something miles to go. I should be able to do this today because there's this big long detour. and I hit single track with, I don't know, it was around dusk, and I hit, segment 3 going into Denver, and it's like, okay, just 3 segments left. It's like 30 miles or whatever, a few hours and I'll be done. And then it was like 8 hours later in the dark, in the middle of the night, finally got it done. But yeah, I was just stoked. It was like this whole different world of bikepacking on single track, which is really cool. And the point to point aspect of traveling on a trail, like, I do a bunch of gravel road riding and stuff, and it makes sense. You're out on these roads that have been established and you can travel places, but traveling via trail is a really cool feeling. Covered all this distance on this just remote hiking trail. It's a cool feeling, and just being out there and being self-sufficient. So I got done and I was just like, oh yeah, let's do that again.
There's something very cool that you can't replicate that anywhere else, right? I mean, I guess I'm just wrapping my head around how really neat that is. As we talk about the, Great Divide route a lot, you can get on a car and drive down, a lot of those roads, but really to go, from one major hub to another major hub just on a bike, pretty incredible.
You just go through some really remote areas that, pretty much inaccessible except for the trail. And it's a pretty special trail. It's views everywhere you look.
You're selling me, man. I always felt like, I don't know, the Colorado Trail always seems like super daunting, You talk about it, you look at the mileage, the elevation, you hear people's stories, but you're selling me. You're making it sound worth it.
It's so hard, and it is so worth it.
I love it. Well said. I like what you said. So right when you got done, you already knew you wanted to do it again. Like you loved it from the get-go. Because some people, it's like a month later, they're like, okay, maybe I'll do it again, and they kind of talk themselves into it. But you were just like hooked.
Yeah, I mean, I was totally destroyed. Like it rocked me, but I was like, I need more of this. Like I was ready. Yeah,
I love it, man. And then you figured out a way to quit your job and whatever y'all are doing now.
Yeah, long string of events to get there. Yeah.
Well, sure. Yeah, I like to jump ahead. All right, Katie, how did yours go?
I think when I started, my head wasn't in the right place to race or finish the Colorado Trail. A few miles in, I just smashed my knee on a rock. And I don't know, that messed with my head a lot. My knee swelled up. It was cut open, and it was super painful. And then I was just super timid riding after that. So I probably didn't ride as much as I should have. And then just...
Were you frustrated? I mean, you do all the training, you do the travel, you get there, and it's like the first 3 miles. You're like, are you freaking kidding me right now?
Yeah. And it was a dumb mistake that I made. I should have been more careful. So yeah, that kind of messed with my head. And then just all the hiking, I had tested out those shoes, but it's totally different when you spend all day in them. And then we had a lot of snow. So wet feet and blisters just really destroyed my feet. And I tried to suffer through it as long as I could. And I remember the day before I quit, I was riding with this guy, Tim, and we met each other right after Leadville. And then he was talking about needing to catch a plane. He was pretty sure he wasn't going to be able to finish the trail. And I was like, oh, we could totally finish by then. I'm going to get over Kokomo and Searle. And then after that, you just got the detour and you'll totally be able to finish in time. So I drug this man into riding super late into the night. And so we were hiking up Kokomo and Searle, and he was like, oh, you're limping. Are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And so that night I took my shoes off and I looked at my feet and I was like, oh man, this isn't looking good.
Oh, so you weren't limping because of your knee, you were limping because of your feet?
Oh yeah.
Or both? It was just everything.
Yeah, everything. I was pretty I had the knee issue, the feet issue, and some asthma issues that were just, I don't know. It's hard in your head when you're not mentally prepared for all that. And when things start to go wrong and you get into that negative cycle, I just wasn't prepared for that. The next day I got into Copper. Andrew had finished, so I called him and said, dude, awesome job. I don't know if I'm going to make it, but you did an awesome job. I was like, okay, I'll do this next hike and see how it goes. So I hiked up 10-mile range and I was going like less than 1 mile an hour. And it took me so long. And I finally got to the top and I was like, I'm not going to be able to finish. Like I have these open blisters that like at this point are bleeding and like you can't keep going like that. Yeah. So I called Andrew and had him pick me up. And even though like that was a legitimate reason to quit, it still really sucked.
Why did it bother you so much?
I don't know. I guess kind of the thing we were talking about before, like I don't quit things. If I say that I'm going to do something, like I try not to flake out and not being able to finish something that you intended to do. Yeah, felt kind of crummy. You know, when you're doing things that are really difficult, you have to know that there's a chance of failure. And if there wasn't, like everybody would do it, right? So
you didn't let it get you down. You just did it just like stick with you in terms of like, I need to go and finish that, or how did it sit with you after you were done?
Yeah. After I was done, I was like, okay, I need to make some changes training wise and gear wise. And I'm going to go back next year and actually do it. So yeah, it didn't like crush my soul or anything, but it was just a bummer at the time, you know?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's that knee injury in the first 3 miles. Like, I just can't get over that. That's such a bummer.
Yeah, it was so dumb. I was not riding smart.
Silly stuff like that is the kind of stuff that like frustrates me. You know, there's so much that you can't control, but if something stupid happens, that just like you're like, oh man, bummer.
Yeah, you have to remember, like it's a long race. It's a long race. Don't ride like an idiot in the first 3 months.
There's so many technical sections that you have to survive for a week, right? So you're not just out for a day ride, like see how fast you can go through this. You're like, here's this big rock garden descent with a big drop at the end. I think I'm just going to walk down, right?
Yeah, fully loaded. Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's plenty of those, and we've both become way better mountain bikers after doing the CT because you walk so much, and then you get to these sections where it's like, I don't know if I can ride that, but I've been walking so much, and I'm riding right now, and I really like to stay on my bike, and so you're just like, I'm gonna send it. I'm just gonna go, and you're like, oh, I did it, you know. So it's like the stuff we were riding beginning of last summer to right now. It's like I'm writing down stuff that I wouldn't have touched. It just gives you that sense of confidence because you kind of force yourself to just try it. You're spending a week plus on your bike. It's like months of experience just jammed into 1 week, and you get good, you know?
Real fast.
I don't know. It's a good training block for sure.
Training block for what? What's next?
Just for mountain biking skills. Neither of us are great mountain bikers. If I go mountain biking with my friends, they all wait for me.
Okay. Yeah. So more gravel, and obviously like around Kansas. I mean, anybody doesn't know. I mean, obviously that's like gravel, the gravel kingdom over there.
Endless gravel. Yeah. And we have pretty good mountain bike trail systems in Kansas City. So we were riding whenever we could, but just, you know, technical skills wise, just confidence going down, you know, rocky features and stuff. We're both fairly timid or cautious, I guess. And so doing stuff on the Colorado Trail, like just kind of gives you a boost where you're just like, all right, I better try and ride this because otherwise I'm just going to walk all day long.
I like it. So Katie, what did you change? What did you learn from 2019 and change? You talked about your training. What did you do to prepare so you didn't quit in 2020?
So I switched to flat pedals and hiking shoes. That was like the number one thing where I was like, all right, next year, I'm not going to hike in cycling shoes. Like that just did not work for my feet. And I'm kind of like a barefoot person. So wearing shoes and then wearing really stiff shoes just doesn't work for me very well. So that was the big gear change. I switched from using more of a trail bike with full suspension and gears. I switched to a Singlespeed hardtail, my pedalino, that they did an awesome job with that.
Yeah, we need to talk about that bike at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a sweet bike. So that was another big gear change. I put a little more weight on my pack. So I had a 12-liter pack because I really struggled with like lifting my bike over things and stuff. And then also some more strength training so that I didn't struggle as much with the hiking and the lifting my bike over obstacles.
That's smart. I was wondering, you had a big old backpack on, but it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, if you're doing a lot of hike-a-bike, you're pushing up a mountain.
Yeah.
I've been a big proponent of like with tour divide mindset, you're like, don't have anything on your back if you can help it. Like put everything on the bike and then you're not having extra weight on your saddle. And so I've been like anti backpack. And then after last year, I had everything on my bike last year, no backpack, no hip pack, anything. And the bike gets really heavy. You know, you got a 2 or 3 liter bladder in there, you got food, all your gear. And so we both brought a 12-liter pack. So we had water and like rain gear and maybe like toiletries or like some extra food. Not a ton of weight, but just enough bulk to take a little bit off. And you're hiking so much that the saddle issue isn't really there. So a small pack at least makes a lot of sense on the CT.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. Is that a common setup for the CT? Do you see a lot of other riders doing a similar thing?
Yeah. A lot of, I mean, at least a hydration pack or a small hiking pack. I wouldn't want to do it with anything too big where you got like high center of gravity, but having space is nice.
Katie, what about the mental side? I know you said that you weren't like mentally prepared, I think is what you said for it. Does that just come with experience, or do you work on the mental side at all?
Yeah, I did work on that. Like, so trying to get into more like positive thought patterns about I can do it even when it's hard, and not just feeling like, oh, this really sucks right now. So I taped some keywords and some mantras on my handlebars to keep me in that positive headspace. And the first was live, which reminded me that like not every moment is going to feel good, but like that's life. Like enjoy every moment or live every moment, even the tough ones. Another word was gratitude. So like it's a huge privilege to be out there, to have the time that we have off of work and the means to be out there is a huge privilege. And just being grateful for being out there is something that really helps me just stay in that positive headspace. And then the one we talked about before with growth over comfort. So even when it's tough, like valuing growing as a person over being comfortable, I think is an important thing in life.
Yeah, I agree. That really resonated with me. I've learned through adversity that if you're willing to go through something hard and learn from it, if it's hard, why is it? I mean, unless it's something like someone dies or something, but I mean, if you're in a hard position, like why are you there? How'd you get yourself there and how can you get yourself through it and try to learn from it? And then you get stronger and better. And it just seems like if you apply that in life, on the other side of discomfort is a lot of growth if you choose to grow. And I think that's a choice that people have to make in life and even in bike packing. It's like, am I going to just relegate myself to now at this moment in time, or am I going to keep pushing and grow in this opportunity and just keep going forward?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good one. I might use it. It's just so simple. Growth over comfort. It's just very simple. And it's a great mantra is the word I couldn't think of earlier. It's a great mantra, very simple. I mean, just a positive mental attitude, basically.
Yeah. And just like thinking about, okay, what's going to be hard about this for me and how do I prepare for that? So like I knew going into the Colorado Trail, like the hardest part for me was probably going to be if Andrew finishes like 2 days ahead of me and I know he's in Denver drinking beer with his friends and I'm still out on the trail, like that's going to be the hardest part for me. So just like kind of preparing yourself for those situations. That didn't end up happening, but just keeping in mind those things that have been difficult in the past and thinking through how to address those situations when they come up. And
yeah, that's really smart. Make those decisions, I mean, to the extent that you can before you go out there, so you're mentally prepared. Like, okay, and you've done most of the Colorado Trail before, and so you can kind of mentally prepare yourself for some stuff that's coming up maybe.
Yeah.
All right, so y'all said that you weren't even planning to do a yo-yo, that you found out about it like a week before and decided to. So like, how did that happen? Like, how do you just we're gonna yo-yo it?
We're on our way to Colorado, and we are talking to Alexandra, like call her on the phone because she's headed to Colorado to go prepare for her yo-yo. And we're talking and realize that we're like half an hour behind her on the interstate. And so we find a spot to camp and she pulls off and we meet her there. And we start talking and she starts telling us about like she's been looking at this yo-yo thing. Apparently no one's ever done it before. She's attempted it before during like she's raced it and then attempted to ride back. And so she's like she's got a plan, and the more she talks about it, the more we're like, man, our just tour sounds, why wouldn't we try the yo-yo? You know?
Whose idea was it? Did y'all both come to this confluence at a perfect time? Like, are y'all just so in sync, or was one of y'all like, I want a yo-yo, and the other one was like, I don't know?
Yeah, so Alexandra had been talking about doing a yo-yo for a while, and I kind of like knew in the back of my mind that Andrew was going to end up wanting to do a yo-yo. Like we had this planned tour together, and I was like, are you sure? Like, this doesn't sound like it's actually going to like, I just know Andrew well enough. Like, he's got this competitive spirit that something is going to change about our plan. And he was a little bit offended at first, where he was like, why don't you think I want to tour with you? And I was like, I don't know. Seems like
You're pretty excited about the yo-yo.
So yeah, I think I knew that Andrew was going to want to do the yo-yo. And then if Andrew was going to do the yo-yo, then I had to do the yo-yo. So yeah, that's kind of how that went.
So what happened? So Alexandra just came off obviously the Colorado Trail as well, and she was close to the record. Do you know why she didn't yo-yo it?
She had really crummy weather, just like we did. But when she got to Durango, that weather was going to continue for her. We started a few days back from her. So that was kind of one of the things, is the weather was crummy. She had some mechanical issues.
Oh, that's right. She sent me pictures. Did y'all get the pictures of she used her Garmin? Okay, I guess we should tell since we're talking about it, but her dropper post failed early on.
She sent me a picture of a Leatherman taped around the post like as a splint, and I was like, that is genius.
Like, she is such a genius.
It held up for like an hour. I don't know how long it was, but she was trying to find ways to keep the dropper up.
Yeah, and then so what she figured out was she used her Garmin, the Garmin mount, and she clamped that around her seat post so it would stay up. Yeah, but I saw the Leatherman as well. So she's like a mad scientist. I know at DK she had some pedal issues, like her pedal fell off, and she was like trying to MacGyver all this stuff.
Yeah, so she just had like a really unfortunate string of events happen that she wasn't able to finish, which was a super bummer because.
Well, she finished. She Durango.
Yeah, she finished the trail. She wasn't able to do the yo-yo.
Yeah, the fact that she finished with all those mechanics, I can't believe I forgot
super
that.
Fast time, like 6 days, 14 hours or something like that. Like, she's a badass. But
y'all weren't even planning on being the first yo-yo. Y'all were planning on being the second the second and third yo-yo.
The allure of just it hadn't been done, and it was this new challenge that was just that was tempting to see if we could do it. You know, I mean, mostly for ourselves, right? Just
we weren't like trying to set a super fast record or anything like that. Like, we just wanted to see, like, can I do it?
Yeah. Okay, so y'all decide eventually to go with Andrew's dream of the yo-yo. And no, but how are y'all approaching it? Were you going to ride it together? What was your plan, strategy, goal going into it? I mean, a week before, so like I don't know, Andrew, maybe this was on your radar a little bit, but
Alexander had been talking about it for a month or two at least, so I'd thought about it, but I was like, oh yeah, that's nice. I don't think we're gonna have time. We had some other things that we had scheduled, and then it was like, okay, let's make time for this. This is gonna be cool. But that was a week before, so we were planning to tour, and so we weren't really planning to like do much of night riding, and I was gonna kind of use stuff we had, and so we switch gears. All right, we're going to do ITT yo-yo. So ride separately. You know, we have all our own stuff, but ordered like some new helmet lights because we weren't satisfied with our lights last year. I ordered a backpack like Katie had. There were a couple other things that we had to do, like fast shipping, go to bike shops that week just to get everything ready for an ITT instead of a tour. We had.
I bet that was exciting too, though.
Oh yeah, it's like once we decided we were doing it, we were just like, all right, game on. Yeah, let's get ready. So that was some last minute prep there. Yeah. So ITT, we both have our own setups. We're both individual time trial. So we start at the same time in Waterton, and then basically split from there.
Did you split just because you were riding faster? Because in the article you said I watched Andrew right away. I mean, but you've said y'all are pretty similar pace, and to foreshadow, spoiler alert, y'all finished on at the same time. So, yeah, I was kind of curious. Like in the article, it was like he just zoomed away.
Our paces become more similar the longer it is, So, yeah, at the beginning, Andrew was riding faster than me. So, yeah, I watched him go up the trail, and I was going my all-day pace, and so we started separately, and for the first 5 days we rode separately before we caught each other.
Katie, what was your goal going into it?
Well, priority number one was just to finish, like whatever it takes to finish. We don't have a timeline, so I was hoping I would be able to do it in between 14 to 16 days, which we ended up doing a little over 16 days. So that was, I guess, kind of a success. But my number one priority was to finish it, regardless of how long it took.
Yeah. Were you 100% committed to the yo-yo?
Oh, yeah. I had to be in my head. If you're not 100% committed in your head, like, you're not going to do it.
Boom. That goes back to the mental part. You got to be in the right mental frame of mind to tackle something like that.
You can't be thinking about it like, I'm going to do the Colorado Trail, and then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to do the Colorado Trail. Like, that is so hard, to be like, I'm done. I'm going to start again. No, you're halfway, like,
yeah.
We were going to try to have everything packed to be able to get to the trailhead in Durango at Junction Creek and just turn around, like not even go into town. It didn't quite work out that way, but we still had a pretty quick turnaround. Like, we didn't let ourselves hang out in town and have a beer. And
yeah, you couldn't mentally check out. Your friends come to the bar to see you, and well, I don't know, this is kind of nice.
That would have been dangerous. He was reminding me, I guess, when decisions would come up, there's every day you're making all these decisions about, okay, what am I going to eat? How far am I going to go? Where am I going to sleep? All this stuff. And Katie's logic for all those decisions was, does this help or hurt the yo-yo? Right? Okay, so do this like super sketchy descent and try and go fast. Does that help or hurt the yo-yo? It's like, well, if I crash, I won't be able to do another week and a half or whatever.
Yeah, or deciding to go later into the night. Like, is this going to help or hurt the yo-yo? Like, in some cases, it helps if you're trying to get to a resupply. But in some cases, if you're just going into the night just to get a longer day in, like, that's not going to help. Like, you just have to be okay with wherever you're at the time that you decide to stop.
Yeah, because you have to step back and be a little bit more sustainable than a regular Colorado Trail race, because the dudes that are going really fast in Colorado Trail race, I mean, 4 days, like, they're barely sleeping, but you can afford to do it, because if you can do it in 4 days, you can survive with just very, very little sleep.
Before it all catches up with you.
Right. But if you're going to be out there for 2 weeks, it's like, okay, I got to start, I don't want to dig myself in this huge hole sleeping 2 hours a night. And so, yeah, we had kind of talked beforehand, like, all right, 6 hours of sleep. You got to keep your head on straight. You got to be recovered. Like, if you're going to be out there for 2 weeks, it's a whole different animal than 5 or days.
So part of the strategy was, does this help or hurt? Yes or no?
Yeah.
So you both kind of were on that same wavelength, because you said for the first 5 days you did not ride together. So, but you were both kind of on the same wavelength in terms of how you were approaching it.
Yeah, it was kind of tricky for me, at least. I was kind of towing the line between, I want to go fast and I want to race, and I want to complete this yo-yo, because it's like on a one-way trip. Just getting to Durango, like, I was like, I want a good time. I want to be competitive time. But then it was like, okay, my time to Durango, like, doesn't matter at all. Like, if I do what I want to do, nobody's going to even know what this time is. I just have to focus on the overall time, and I had to kind of remind myself of that, where it was like, okay, I don't need to push into the night. I don't need to turn myself inside out. I need to just keep riding, just move.
Yeah, you're more competitive than me.
So it's harder to slow down. It's harder to keep yourself in check. I can see that. You got to remind yourself it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yep.
Got to be in it for the long game.
Yep.
So, Katie, you day 3, your cell phone just like exploded into the ether and never to be found again? Like, what happened?
I was trying to use my cell phone, like getting into Buena Vista, like to get directions to the gas station. Like I was pretty sure I knew where I needed to go and check my messages and everything. And I tried to turn it on and it wouldn't turn on. So I plugged it into my dynamo. It wouldn't charge. Plugged it into my battery pack. Wouldn't charge. Got to the gas station. Plugged it into an outlet with a different cord and it still didn't charge. So I don't know. Maybe it got wet or something.
What kind of phone?
It's a Motorola. I don't know. Nothing special.
Well, at least you didn't brick a $1,200 iPhone. Did you get another cell phone, or did you, like, what happened with it after that?
Yeah, after that, I like sat at the gas station, like super confused because you just always have your phone. Like you always have it. I was like, okay, like, do I stay in Buena Vista and get another phone? And I was like, no, if I stay overnight here, like there's a good chance I'm going to quit because I'm a disaster right now. I need to keep riding. So
Buena Vista is about halfway mileage wise, just for reference.
Yeah. So
halfway to Durango. Yep.
Yeah. So I asked the lady in the gas station, hey, is there a public phone somewhere that I can use to like tell my family my phone's broken? And she was like, no. So I was like, oh, okay. So I have an inReach Mini, which is super slick to use. If you have a phone, you can just like text on your phone and send a message through your inReach Mini. But since I didn't have my phone, I typed a message, like you have to scroll and select one letter of the alphabet and then scroll again, select the next letter of the alphabet. So typed a message, phone broke, going to keep going, to Andrew and my parents, and then just kept going, and then didn't have a phone for like 2 weeks. So it was kind of nice.
Oh, no. So you never got your phone back. Wow.
Mm-hmm. No, I didn't get one until we got back to Denver. And
why was it nice? I mean, I can imagine, but I'd like to hear.
I could ride my ride without being so preoccupied about Andrew's dot. And like before I was like, oh, well, Andrew's this far ahead of me and that means he's going to get done this many days ahead of me, which was the thing that I knew I was going to struggle with. And I still did it to myself. But now it's like Andrew could be 2 hours ahead of me. He could be 2 days ahead of me. It doesn't matter. If I think that I want to quit, I have to do the scroll one letter at a time thing. And, by the time I get that message typed out, I'm probably not going to want to quit anymore. So I could just ride my own ride without anything else.
What about like, would friends send you messages and stuff, like encouraging messages? And I always found like those were pretty helpful, I think, to get like little emotional boost,
Yeah.
Whenever your friend's watching your dot at like 1 o'clock in the morning and there's a storm and someone's like, you're so awesome, you can do it, like you didn't have that.
No. So that was kind of cool too. Like you have to rely so much more on yourself.
Good point.
While you're doing it in your own head and not rely on that outside support or so the one thing that I was really bummed about was having no music, like for wildlife, like during the night and early morning hours. That, and then I had like pictures of the guidebook on my phone. But then I learned to trust my memory. Like I know the route. I'd ridden it last year from that point, and like I knew the spots that I needed to fill up on water. So yeah, just learning to trust my memory.
Yeah, it's weird. We're not used to having to do that.
Yeah,
we don't have to rely on, like with a cell phone, everything is in reach. You can call anyone, you can get any information. Everything is in reach, like you could call a mechanic and have them FaceTime and walk you through not to say you would do that on a self-support event, obviously, but just in general, and like to have that stripped away is just like such a foreign concept in today's day and age.
Yeah,
it can be tough, especially in the western half. You just start to get out in those remote areas, which kind of nice.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the great things about getting away from cell phone service. I love it. I love whenever I'm going on vacation and I leave that voicemail that says, y'all don't have jobs, so you don't understand. But other regular people, we have jobs and we have to, thank you for calling, Patrick. I'm going to be out of cell phone service for the next 5 days. Like that's my favorite message to leave on my voicemail. Like oh, that's so good. Andrew, what about you? So were you concerned at all about the fact that she didn't have a cell phone, or you're like, nope, you're on your own. Here I go.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't much I could do at that point. I had got that message that her phone was broken, so I knew, she could still text me if like something bad happened. But
yeah, I still had my SOS button.
yeah, I mean,
Like,
yeah,
if there was an emergency, I would be okay.
yeah,
Boom. That is so, so valuable. Like I have a spot, you have an inReach Mini, whatever. I'm a big, big fan of, I mean, I know on the Colorado Trail, they make you have one, right? I mean, that's a requirement or
to
no?
do an ITT, you have to have a tracker. I would carry one out there, even if it wasn't racing.
Hmm.
Yeah, because no matter what, you got that button you can push and the cavalry will come.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could take a while to get there, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Depends on where you are, if they got to get a helicopter or a boat or whatever, but they're going to get there. I've had Tomas Quinos, Tomas, I can't remember his last name, but he works at Ride with GPS. He was on an 8-day bike tour in the desert in, I think it's called like Death Valley in Oregon, which I didn't even know there was a desert in Oregon, but there is apparently. He came across like a 70 or 80-year-old man that was damn near dead, laying in the middle of the road on like the 7th day of this bike trip that he went on. No car around, no food, no water. Just an old guy laying in the middle of the road, not responsive, barely breathing. And he had his Garmin, or not his Garmin, he had his spot tracker, and he pushed the SOS and saved the guy's life. So he came on the podcast and talked about it. And ever since then, I was like, okay, I don't know. It's just like you never know what you're going to come across, and even if it saves your life or somebody else's or whatever, it's just such a safety net and peace of mind for me, at least, to have that. All right, enough plugging, giving them free advertising. So I wanted to talk about the toilet that y'all met up on, I guess, day 5. Yeah. I thought it was so funny. Like, how many articles are you going to read where they're like, oh, I'm really looking forward to that toilet to go sleep in?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not.
So let's talk toilets and sleeping in toilets, because I bet that's not a topic that most people talk about.
Oh, man. Montana Hilton.
Yeah. Tell me the toilet story. Maybe Andrew start because you got there first. Yeah.
So there's let's see, we're on a gravel detour around a wilderness area. There's like, I think 5 wilderness detours on the CT. You can't take a bike into wilderness area, so you're out on gravel or pavement. On most of those, it takes you through a town anyway, so it's like you get a resupply. They're usually a pretty welcome break from the single track if you're getting beat up. But so it's at the end of one of these detours. There's Spring Creek Pass, and there's a trailhead there. And so I got there 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night, and it's been raining on me most of the afternoon. And then as I'm like pulling into the trailhead, it just starts dumping rain. And so I see vault toilet, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go sit underneath that roof and see what happens. And I was sitting outside under the covered area, and then the wind shifts, and I'm getting wet. So I hop inside. And I hadn't slept in one before. I always hear stories about people, camping out in a vault toilet with the racing and stuff, but I hadn't done it myself. And there wasn't really anyone around. There were a few cars in the parking lot, but I think they were like hikers that had left their car and gone because it was just late at night. And then I hear a bike roll up, and I hear a knock on the door, and there's this other bike packer, and he was touring the route, and he's like, "Oh, thanks for opening up." Like, and I was like, "Dude, yeah, you want to stay in here?" And he's like, yeah. He got split up from his buddies, and they had the tarps. So it's like pouring rain, nighttime, I don't know, probably 50 degrees, 45 degrees. And he was like, yeah, I was trying to camp out under that picnic table, but there's like slats of wood. It's not a roof. It's not. He was in bed. I mean, would have been in a scary situation, I think, had that shelter not been there. So we sat inside, got to know each other for a minute. His name is Lenny. He's a cool guy. We're friends now. We had that like mandatory 15-minute, like, here's my name, here's who I am, here's what I do, what's your name? And then, okay, now let's set up our bivvies right next to each other in the toilet and go to sleep.
How much room well, actually, let me ask that question later.
Oh, yeah. I mean, not wide enough to sleep head to toe, or, on sleep widthwise. So we were diagonal, but this was a great vault toilet. No, it did not smell. I swear. It's there's no toilet paper, but it was clean. A lot of the vault toilets out there, like, in more
Like remote.
Yeah, not near like a city center. There, I feel like the users are more respectful, and so they get their regular maintenance. They're in fine condition. So this was not a gross experience. I would say floor was pretty clean, and we're in our bivvies anyway, so it's like
Yeah.
But it was dry in there, and it was pouring rain, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a few hours of sleep and see what happens. See what the weather's like early in the morning and get out of here. And so we go to sleep, and then like 1:30 in the morning, I hear a knock on the door, and I'm just like, oh, this is exactly what I hoped wouldn't happen. This is gonna be so awkward. What do I do? Do I leave it locked? Do I? And then as I'm contemplating all this, I hear, Andrew, it's me. I'm like, no way. No way. And I like scramble to unlock the door, and Katie's standing there just soaked. How is this happening? I hadn't had cell phone service for 24 hours at least. So I didn't know where she was. And she had made this push through to get to the Spring Creek Pass, and she got her stuff inside. We fit 3 people in the toilet, which was definitely the max. Sleeping at least.
Are there pictures of this?
Not the inside. I didn't even think of it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But I mean, we set up in the dark, tore down in the dark. It was.
Oh.
It wasn't a
Yeah, it wasn't a glamorous situation, but it's a funny story. Katie, I thought so. Can we talk about like your experience leading up to that? Because I was reading the article, and you were like planning on making it to that toilet.
Yeah.
You're like, it's just so funny. You're like,
yeah, I'm not usually a toilet sleeper. Like I will 100% sleep outside if I can. But I started that detour at like 6:30 at night, and it's about 50 miles. So I guess at that point I was like 90 miles away from Silverton, I think. And I was doing the math in my head, like, okay, if I stop at 11 o'clock, am I going to make it to the gas station in Silverton during their hours? And if I would have stopped at 11, like I 100% would not have made it there. So I was like, all right, I'll just knock out the rest of this detour, and then maybe tomorrow I'll make it to Silverton for that resupply. Kept riding, and then it started raining a lot, and it was pretty cold. So I was like, all right, I've either got to like keep moving or stop somewhere I know I'm going to be warm. Now I'm committed to getting to that trailhead with the toilet, because the night before it had rained, and pretty much all day it rained on and off, and like there wasn't enough sun or time with sun to dry out my bivvy and stuff. So it would have been like a pretty cold night. So getting to that point where there's at least an emergency shelter, even if I, set up outside, if I get too cold, I can go in there. But yeah, so I planned on making it to that toilet, and then I got there and there are already 2 bikes outside, and I was like, dang it. Like somebody else has already claimed the toilet. So
your heart sank.
Yeah.
I was soaking wet, cold.
Yeah. And it was 1:30. I was super tired. I've been riding for 20 hours. And so then I look a little bit closer, and I was like, that is Andrew's bike. Like I assumed at this point he was like way ahead of me, and I would not see him again until we, cross paths on the trail at some point, go in the other direction. But I stood out there like contemplating whether I knock on the door or not, because like there's already 2 dudes in there. And
even though you knew it was Andrew, you still thought about not knocking on the door?
I didn't want to wake him up.
You're so nice.
And also like, I was like, I don't know if there's going to be a room for a third in there, but I decided that Andrew would want me to knock on the door. So I did. We all squeezed in there together. It was very tight.
Oh, it's kind of cute. It's kind of cute. Do you have any idea how much of a gap you made up? I mean, because you didn't have your phone. So, God, yeah, it was day 3 where you lost your phone. And so there's 2 days where you didn't know where each other was, basically. So do you have any idea how much of a gap you closed? Oh, I guess you could go back and look at your track leaders, though, and figure that out.
9:30 or something, and she got there at 1:30. So we would have been somewhere around 4 hours apart.
Yeah, so pretty close.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was definitely
really close. Yeah, in a 16-day race, that's really close.
Right, right. That's neck and neck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's neck and neck.
So our second half, like day 4 through 7 or 8, those like 4 or 5 days, hit a pretty nasty weather window in the San Juans. And I'd read like there's a CTR Facebook group that people were posting about like the weather forecast, and people were postponing their ITTs because there's supposed to be like inches of rain over the next few days. And that's just like, 10x or 100x what they usually get. And so people were talking about how, oh, it's going to be terrible weather. Like, might as well wait for your ITTs. And I was like, oh, we're already like 3 days in.
Yeah, one of the benefits of not having a phone, I was just, ignorance of this. I was just out there riding.
Yeah,
Didn't
for sure.
matter what the weather was going to be. I was just going to keep riding.
For sure. It
Yeah.
got into my head a little bit. And so those last, day 4 and day 5, like it's just raining off and on. I'm riding up these passes and I can just see like dark clouds at the top, and I'm just like, what am I doing? And so we were probably moving at pretty similar speeds then, because the weather was slowing both of us down at different points. And
Okay.
there were sections of trail that I was going down. It was just a stream. It was like I'm walking down stuff that should just be cruising.
Because you're walking through a river.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I'm going to destroy these brake pads and crash on roots. And so I'm walking, and there were some slow days for sure.
I mean, it's cool that y'all, when I read the article and y'all like hooked back up or connected, I was like, I don't know, I got like super excited. I was like, because the way it was written is like, and there he goes, and I never saw him again. And then you catch him, like, whoa, he caught him, or she caught him. That's awesome. So then, what was the strategy? You're together, you're on an ITT. Now, what do you do?
So that next day, we left with our new friend Lenny. We'd all bunkmates.
Best friends for life now.
Oh yeah, we're tight. And that next stretch, you leave from Spring Creek Pass, and you make your way up to the high point of the course, a little over 13,000 feet, and then you go through. You get really into the San Juans, and it's like this incredible area. It's so like the most beautiful stretch, I think. Segment 23, I think, but really slow going. Like hike up, ride down, hike up, ride down. Just it's a long stretch of slow moving. And so that next day, all 3 of us were pretty much together, like slow going. It was just like a mist all day long, riding through a cloud. So we all got to Silverton pretty much same time, and it had been a dark and gloomy day, and we were wet and cold and like needed food. And Katie's calculation was right. We made it to Silverton about 8:30, because we thought the gas station opened until 9, but the gas station was open until 8. And so we all got into Silverton without a resupply, and the previous resupply. So that western half of the trail, you have a stop in BV, and then there's a couple other stops close to BV, Princeton Hot Springs, but the limited hours. So it's really, you have a resupply at BV, you have a resupply at Silverton, and then Durango. So between BV and Silverton is some really tough miles, and I don't know, 150 or 180 miles, somewhere in there. It's 2 solid days, maybe, or
3.
At least 2, 3 days. So
Yeah.
in BV, you're loading up on food, but we had both kind of cut it short, so we got to Silverton with very little in the tank, and we're needing a resupply. So we couldn't go the next stretch to finish it in Durango without resupplying, and Silverton basically shuts down at 8. There were some bars on the downtown stretch that had lights on, but they were closed. They were just doing last call, and like people were getting kicked out, and the whole town just shuts down. It's a small town. We found a campground hotel thing that had a opening, and they rented a cabin to us, because we had to wait until the gas station opened in the morning. And fortunately there were like some random ramen packets in the cabin. So warmed up some ramen and went to bed a little hungry, but dried out a bunch of stuff, and definitely needed that dry place to sleep. It would have been rough just resupplying and then heading back out on the trail that day, because it was just wet all day. But
did you get some good breakfast in the morning at least? I'm feeling bad for you over here.
So yeah, that's a low point. Then the next morning, we sleep in a bit, go to the gas station, get loaded up, go to the grocery store, load up more, get breakfast, waste enough time that we need to get lunch. And so we're sitting there feeling, well fed. The sun is out. Okay, let's get going. Yeah, wrestling with, okay, we're on this ITT. We were separate. Now we're together. What does this all mean? What are we going to do? And then that next day we're riding together, and I don't know, it's pretty easy to stick together. We'd been through all that weather, and it was pretty nice to have someone else to kind of bounce ideas off of, where it was like, okay, what do you think? Is that thunderstorm going to hit, or, are we going to go over this exposed area during this thunderstorm? Or so having just another person out there. We'd been basically solo up until then. And so, yeah, I think just as we rode and we were just...
Yeah, it seemed silly once we realized our paces were so similar. It seemed silly to split up again.
Yeah.
I mean, you weren't obviously that far behind, and you caught him on day 5. I don't really know all the proper rules and everything. So did it become like a couples category after that, or is it still an ITT? Like, how does all that play out?
Definitely rules with the ITT. It's supposed to be all self-supported, no services that aren't publicly available, no food or water caches, no friends meeting you with supplies, no friends meeting you in general. Those are the rules, for Tour Divide, whatever. They're all pretty much the same. And so we were both self-sufficient, our own setups, but then met together on the trail. And I think I'm definitely still learning the rules.
Yeah, I think we were definitely at the very least in a gray area as far as
right
as an ITT. Like we didn't intend to ride together at the beginning, but once we got together, it was just like, ITT or not, like, this makes more sense to just finish this together.
Right.
So
yeah,
I was thinking about it. Things are a little bit different with an ITT, but with a Grand Depart, people ride the whole thing with a partner or a group of people, and that's just how it ends up. Like, a lot of people end up riding with other people, and it's just meant to not be. You're meant to not, intend to ride the whole thing with someone else. I think
right.
Kind of the idea is to do it yourself, and that was our intent. But then when you kind of sync up with somebody, then it's like, hey, it's really nice to have someone else here, and sometimes that's slower, right?
Well, even think about, we were talking about Ride the Divide, right? Think about Matthew and, I forgot his name, Andre? No, not, shit.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. You guys...
But they were like waiting for each other. He kept waiting for him and wanted the company and someone to ride with. And,
It's lonely out there.
Yeah, it gets lonely. So, I mean, I'm not on the rules committee and I don't really give a shit. But that's what I was thinking about is, if there's other racers on any of these races, it's not uncommon to ride with somebody, and even a couple people or whatever. If you're just like in a groove together, you see it all the time. So, what's the difference between y'all syncing up? And that's kind of...
I think it's definitely a gray area, because then it's like, okay, it's your partner rather than just some random dude on the trail or a friend. But I also think that, riding with somebody can give you a boost, or it can be really helpful, but it can also make you go slower, because you've got 2 different sets of, food breaks, pee breaks, mechanical breaks.
Yeah, you try and take them at the same time, but that doesn't always end up that way.
Yeah, so
yeah,
it can make you go faster. It could definitely make you go slower. I don't know. Yeah, it's a gray area, and we were definitely struggling with that. But at the end of the day, we were like, we want to get this thing done, like, for ourselves. We want to complete the trail twice. Whether people dispute the time or whatever, like, I think the time is relatively soft. Like, there's plenty of people that can go fast. Somebody can smash our yo-yo time, like,
yeah,
for sure. And so that wasn't the goal. The goal wasn't to set a record, it was to complete the trail. And so at that point we were like, we have a better shot of doing this together, I think, and it's going to be more fun.
Yeah, I mean, just think about the whole progression of going from a touring mindset to a yo-yo mindset within a week. And even doing that, you knew that Alexandra was out there going for it before you. So like, you weren't even like, I mean, obviously she's super fast. And I mean, so I'm assuming that you're not like, okay, we're going to set the record and we're going to show everybody, like, you just like, we just want to tackle this. We want to see what we can do. We want to push ourselves. And you did, like that's kind of, I don't know, gray area, schmay area, but, you both,
We followed the rules the
you,
best we could, but once we synced up, it was going to be pretty tough to be like, all right, goodbye. I'll see you later again. Like it was a pretty tough goodbye in Waterton Canyon. We were both like not really ready to start solo. Like it's tough to do that goodbye. So weren't really looking forward to doing that again, and decided that let's enjoy this together. Like pretty special trail, pretty special time. Wrestled with it, and then we were like, let's ride together, whatever.
I think it's cool. Like I said, when I read the article and I saw y'all hook back up and finish it, like I was like, fuck yeah, I thought that was just, I don't know, like I don't get too much in the weeds with the rules. I'm not a big racer. I respect the sport, and you got to trust the people that are out there to just adhere to the ethos to some extent,
Right.
and to,
Yeah.
to ride it your way, and to, you're out there on the trail, and you got to make those decisions and make them the best you can. So, y'all thought about it and you did what you felt was right, and
Yeah.
that's cool,
Yeah. I think the rules are definitely really important. I've just learned that more after, we just toured the divide route, but saw people that were racing and learned from them. Like, because we were going to tour the route, and we were like, oh, we'll just hop on the Tour Divide tracker. Then learned very quickly that, okay, this is not is not meant to be couples signing up together, not meant to share gear. I didn't even know about like no drafting. Like we were total rookies about, all these rules. We're like, oh, there's all these rules. What is this? But after, talking to people, learning more about it, it's like, okay, there are these rules in place. They're very simple. It's to level the playing field. I don't know. It just makes it pure, I think, and kind of just keeps these races.
It's like the heart of bike packing, it's like that, it's that thing that makes it special, that everybody's out there unsupported and tackling the elements and the terrain, and you're on your own, that's special.
As much as it can be, it's the same for everyone. So that's super cool. And that's where I have respect for the rules, and I try to uphold them. And a bunch of them, right, is on your honor, right? Nobody's out there with a video like, did he stay with a relative in this town, or there's stuff like that.
Or get a drop somewhere.
Right,
Or,
yeah.
I mean,
Did he leave a
someone bring you a tube or slime, or I mean, you don't know. It's all that's the thing is, I mean, it has to be to an honor system to some extent. I mean, you can only tell so much by a dot that's moving around, and those things lie sometimes too. So,
Yeah. But I think, from most of the people I've interacted with, people want to follow the rules. Like people want a clean race. People want to do it right and know in their head that they did it. And it's a good feeling going through a race and knowing that you did it self-supported. To me, it's almost kind of like, I love the feeling of having my bike loaded and knowing that like I can just go wherever and I've got everything I need to be self-sufficient. And like that's a cool feeling. And it's kind of the same with the race, where it's like I did that whole thing just without anyone's help, using minimal services and covering the terrain myself.
That's the most important thing, I think, to be able to look back when you're done and say, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
I did that.
Yeah, I don't want to doubt in my mind that, I did, hitchhike to that town. And yeah.
No, that's the thing. And that's why I think that the honor system works, is because the people out there that are doing these types of things like y'all, they're wanting to challenge themselves. They're wanting to do it self-supported. There's no value in finishing and knowing that you cheated. I didn't mean to like downplay the rules, but I certainly appreciate that they're there and the reason why they're there. But I just don't do a lot of racing myself. Right. And so I'm a little bit ignorant to the particulars of this gray area that you found yourself in.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Let us know if you figure that out. There's definitely more to bikepacking than racing. But I don't know, the variety of doing a race, following all the rules, and then doing a tour and doing whatever you want. Like, they're both really fun.
Yeah. And that's what's so great, is you can do it all the different ways.
Yeah.
I think, if y'all had went out there and laid down, like, let's say you did it in 10 days and you did it and you finished together in 10 days, I think there might, I mean, not from me, but I bet Facebook would get fired up and start, really getting into the weeds about, records and all this kind of stuff. But I think it's a cool story. And I'm, like I said, when I read it and saw about it, I was like, fuck yeah. I think it's, I don't know, Katie. I was just like, yeah, she caught him, and like, well, now what's going to happen? Are they going to stay together? Is he going to beat her? Is she going to beat him? Like,
Well,
it was like
her like day 3 or something, day 2. And I like checked the tracker, and it's so tempting to check the tracker just all the time. Like, you can waste so much time in those races. I just kept checking the tracker, and she was like 2 hours behind me or something. And I was like, I texted her, I was like, you're going to beat me. I can already tell, like, I'm going to be distracted. I'm going to be wasting time, and you're going to catch me and beat me. And
wow.
Yeah, not far from it. So,
well, I knew this was going to happen. I have way more questions, and we were talking way too much.
Blabbered for a while about rules, and I'm sure that's just not very interesting.
It's interesting to me, because like the thing is like there's so many people that listen to this podcast that aren't like super hardcore and a lot of my audience is like new, and still trying to understand. And so I think it's actually good information to put out there so people like understand, like you said, I mean, you kind of learn from other people as you do it, so
we're still learning. Yeah. The more you talk to people that have done the races, the more the rules make sense.
Yeah. And like we appreciate that question because like I'm sure people are talking about it.
Yeah. I was thinking about it a lot.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I love podcasts, because it gives you an opportunity to really like get inside the heads of people and like understand, the decision making behind it and what you were thinking or feeling or whatever the situation may be. But that's why I personally like podcasts, because you can kind of get like the real story of what was going on. Is there a good way to wrap up being the first people to ever yo-yo the Colorado Trail Race? How are y'all feeling about yourselves? Were you like beyond stoked? Did you just want to like sleep forever? Like,
so we had nasty weather going through San Juan's on the way to Durango, which ended up costing us at least a day. Just that stretch from Silverton to Durango, it's like 80 miles, and it took us 2.5 days or something. So we intended to have enough food to get from Silverton to Durango to back to Silverton. Don't have to buy anything in Durango, just it should be around a 3-day round trip. We were thinking, but it took us 2.5 to get to Durango. So we needed to resupply. Went into town, got a meal, got groceries. I bought a shock pump because my fork was leaking air and I was bottoming out. And so I had to nurse that a bit. But then we were back on the trail 3 hours later, started heading back, and the weather was pretty much perfect from there back to Denver. Like the way back, we were going faster because of better weather, but it was also like we were checking off these milestones, these places that we'd been. And it was like, oh yeah, that's where we camped 2 nights ago. Okay, that's where we did this. Oh, that's where, we start meeting people that we had passed, or you start seeing hikers and they're just like, wait, didn't we talk to you 3 days ago? And you're like, oh yeah, we went to Durango and we're going back. And they're like, what? And it's fun talking to hikers on the trail because it's you're out there experiencing the same thing, but it's a totally different experience because they're out there for a month and a half doing a through hike. And so they're like, when did you start? And you're like, oh, 3 days ago. And I've been out here for 2 weeks. And I don't know, just sharing that experience on the trail is pretty cool.
You're inspiring the whole nother generation of bike packers.
Oh, dude.
Pretty soon we'll see all these hikers turning in their, well, actually, they're not going to turn in their boots. They're going to keep their boots and get flat pedals.
Yeah. All the hikers comment, we're pushing our bikes uphill and they're like, oh man, that looks so hard. Like bringing a bike out here. And I'm like, dude, all my weight is on wheels. I'm pushing it. And then as soon as I get to the top, I'm gone. Like a lot of hikers comment about how tough it looks. And it was like, man, I have to go uphill the same as you. I don't have it on my back. And then I can go so fast.
That's weird. Yeah. It seems like the exact opposite.
Yeah. Most of the comments you get are just like, oh man, bringing a bike up here, huh? It's like, yeah, I'm going to do this in like a week.
They must not be very good cyclists, obviously. They just, they probably like that. Well, I mean, it's techie terrain. And so they're hiking it and they're thinking, with their perspective of probably not being cyclists, they're like, I don't know if this is a good idea.
I mean, yeah, I'm definitely biased. Like for a brand new cyclist, it could be a pretty slow going process, pretty frustrating on a bike, just because it's like real mountain biking.
But as far as like the way back from Durango, like it felt really fast. Like time went really fast. And just every day we were so grateful for that good weather after we'd had like 4 or 5 days of mostly rain. So,
Yeah.
and then being together and everything. It was just like, it was a really fun time on the way back.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. First people to ever yo-yo the Colorado Trail. Woo woo. No one can ever, you can tell, I don't know if you're going to have kids. You can tell everybody about that though. They can't take it away from you. You're bikepacking Hall of Fame now. I bet that'll go on Wikipedia.
I don't know.
I'll put it there.
You're going to put it on? All right.
Sometimes I talk about that on the show. I'm like, you're the first guest I've ever interviewed that was on Wikipedia, because you Google everybody, you know, and some people show up on Wikipedia and some people don't. And for whatever reason, in my weird brain, if you're on Wikipedia, that means you've really done something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Although in our case, I feel like bikepacking.com is like really the big one.
It was pretty surreal seeing, Katie's post on there. That was cool. We have our blog, but our mom and some of our friends read it.
Well, I'm glad you brought up your blog. I mean, first of all, bikepacking.com, super cool. I mean, that's like winning the Emmys in bikepacking is getting on there. And yeah, I was checking out y'all's blog too. I saw it on Bikepacking on your little bio. You had a link to it, so I was checking it out. What's the link so people can follow along on your journeys?
Yeah, it's riding bikes with Andrew and Katie.blogspot.com.
Perfect. Nice and short.
Yep.
Yeah.
Working on that.
Yeah.
What about your Instagrams? Because that's an easy way for people to follow along too.
Yeah, mine is Katie.Strempke.
Yeah, mine's just Strempke.
The Strempkes. So what is next for y'all? Where are y'all right now? You got your little van. You're a week off the Colorado Trail. What's next?
Yeah, I think we're going to head up near Yellowstone next. My parents are taking a trip out there, so we're going to meet up with them.
Maybe eyeing the Idaho Hot Springs route. Looks pretty cool touring route.
I was just going to ask, do y'all have a preference between bike touring or bikepack touring and racing, or kind of they both have their time and season? And
yeah, I think they're both really fun. They're fun for different reasons, but I really enjoy pushing myself to see how fast I can go. And there's a whole other side of racing when it's bikepack racing, and like you have this efficiency aspect where it's like, how fast can I do this resupply? How little time can I spend standing around? I'm bad at it. Like, I have a lot of stop time, and so I'm always trying to improve that. So that's fun to do, to just push yourself, but then to be able to just tour and be like, nobody knows how fast we do this, so maybe we'll upload the rides to Strava, but we can take our time. And honestly, we haven't had a whole lot of time to do some of those tours that we want to do. And so it's been like, okay, we have a week of vacation. Like last summer, I used week and a half of vacation to go do CTR. So it was like, go take vacation, go to a race, go back to work. And so
that's how we do it. That's how I always ask, like, what do you do for a job to be able to make this happen?
Yeah, it's really tough to do it with a full-time job, with an office job.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to having more of a balance between the racing and touring and stuff coming up.
So, I mean, y'all got to have some big plans, though. Like, you got some big routes you want to do, or another race, or are y'all really just kind of winging it?
We're mostly winging it.
Arizona Trail Race has been on our radar. So if that happens this year, we'll be there in October. Looks like there's some question marks around that with fires and all sorts of stuff. But that's one we'd really like to do at some point. Haven't really done any riding in Arizona, so that looks like a new challenge.
Yeah, it looks beautiful too. Different kind of beautiful than the Colorado.
Yeah, yeah, way more diverse. And then we were both planning to do Tour Divide this year, and it didn't happen. So race Tour Divide individually next summer. That's the plan.
And maybe Katie will beat you, and maybe she won't.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta ask. First of all, Katie, are you committed? Are you 100% single speed now?
I don't know. I mean, I
such a good answer.
Yeah, I really like it. But I was ready for a break. Like the other day, I hopped on my like full suspension bike with a huge range cassette, and I was like, oh, this is so easy. Like I don't know if it's faster, but it's easy. So yeah, I needed a break from that after the Colorado Trail, I think. But yeah, I'm sure you'll see me on Singlespeed more.
All right, and also, what gear ratios were y'all running? The single speeders will kill me if I don't ask this question.
I was running 32-22.
32-22.
I was on 34-22. I did 32-22 last year, and I think that was the better choice. Realized I had that gear on my bike too late, and then I was looking around I have a Santa Cruz Chameleon, and the carbon chainstay is like dropped and actually interferes with a single speed chain line. So you need to run a bigger front chain ring. And so I ended up, I had that 34 on there for that reason. And I was looking around for a 23 tooth cog like a few days before the race, and I couldn't find one. And so I was like, well, I'll run the 22, I guess.
Will you get a new bike or what will you do to have more single speed range?
It works for me. I've made it work. If I was going to do it again, I think there's a company that makes a 23 tooth cog. I just couldn't find one in a bike shop in time. So
I didn't even know they made them. You always see 32, 34. You've never seen a 33.
Yeah.
But I guess whenever you become a hardcore single speeder, you got to look at you're like, see what all options are out there.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, kind of a weird chain line predicament with that frame. So I really like it, but it doesn't fit my full range of gears that I'd like. So I have to work around it a bit.
I gotcha. What about you, Katie? How did you feel about your gearing?
I felt like it was just right.
32-22.
Yeah, pretty popular gear for the Colorado Trail.
That's the one. And Alexandra was on 34 or 32 up front?
I think she was 32-22.
30. Oh, good. See, if I ever do a single speed, now I'll know.
Yeah, it's a good one because it's like a relatively manageable gear for riding single track. If you were only riding single track, you could probably go even lighter, like a 30-22 or something, and ride more stuff. But you got those wilderness detours there's one that's 70 miles, there's one that's 50 miles. And so you'd be spun out at like under 10 miles an hour if you were on that super easy gear. So you need a little bit of a tall enough gear to spin at, at least 10 or 11 miles an hour.
That's part of the fun I like of the single speed. Again, not from personal experience, but the idea of it being that, you pick that one gear and that's what you got. It's like everything else. It's like, okay, this is what I'm taking with me, and that's all I got. And there's something just so pure about it that I'm fascinated by personally. And I don't know, I'm just like blown away that y'all did it, and you did it on singles. Like, not only were you the first people to do it, but you were the first people to do it also on single speed. So it's like a double whammy.
Yeah. Single speed is fun. And it's ironic because you'll spend, single speeders spend a lot of time talking about gears.
That is so funny. Oh my gosh, I've never heard that one before. All right, that's a good way to leave it. That's on a funny note.
Yeah.
Unless I missed anything. Anything else y'all wanted to say?
Man, I don't think so. It's hard to fit it in. I mean, yeah, that was fast.
Yeah.
I know. It's a problem. I've done my first one with Alexandra I think it went 3 hours, and I edited down to like 2:45 or something. But I mean, it's just hard to cut it off. You're like, I have so many more questions, but All right, guys. Well, I'm going to be following, and hopefully I can catch up with y'all sometime in your like van tour of wherever y'all are going. But I'm going to try to follow along, and maybe we can cross bike paths one day instead of just drinking a beer on the back patio after a wedding. All right, guys. Y'all have a good one. Thanks for coming on and sharing your story. And congrats again. The power couple.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good one.
You too.
Bye. All right. That's all we got today, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, cats and dogs. Congrats again to the Strempkes. Really cool. Love talking to them. It's just another example of humans doing amazing things. I don't know about y'all, but I have got the hankering to quit my job, buy a van, and go ride my bike like all the time now. Thanks, guys. If only. I love to live vicariously through people like them, and wish them well on their journeys. And like I said, hopefully maybe our paths will cross in the future. All right, everyone. Well, it was a long interview, so we'll just keep it short and sweet. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting the show if you can. One thing we didn't discuss in the podcast was how to conquer the Colorado Trail Race as a yo-yo. And the answer is actually really simple. Are you ready? All you have to do is ride your damn bike.
You load up your bike, you ride away from home. You could be with your friends or you could be alone. You ride for a day or maybe more. You just love being in the great outdoors. Everything you need is strapped to your bars, including that new pillow you got from Santa Claus. And then you think, oh shit, to yourself. You left that super lightweight tent on the living room shelf. Bikes